Welcome to episode number 40 of the Between Two Brands podcast. I'm still your host, Bill Petrie, feeling much better. That lingering COVID has now exited the building and feeling a lot better as we rifle through the end of the year. Heck, it's already the middle of October. Before we get to the show, and I think we have a really fun one for you today, let's go ahead and pay the rent, as I like to do around here. You know, in 2025, your clients are looking for more than just a product with their logo on it. They're looking for rock solid merchandise solutions that are more than just innovative. They're actually going to be used for months and years to come. Now, let me introduce you, and maybe in some cases, let's reintroduce you to our good pals over at Coaster Stone. Now, they are the original manufacturer of absorbent stone coasters with unmatched quality, durability, and gorgeous edge-to-edge decorating. Have an example right here from the Cabo trip on promotions. That gorgeous edge-to-edge decorating, I love it. But that allows your creative designs to come to life just like this in full vibrant color. Now, if you're just listening, you're not going to see the picture. So check out YouTube. Check out the coaster. Anyway, since 1983, Coaster Stone has set the standard when it comes to delivering a retail-inspired experience to any client function. Now, instead of boring and plain packaging, how about options that are fully customizable? Coaster Stone delivers value far beyond the product itself. And did you know they manufacture their pinback buttons right here in the USA? Well, they do, and they're the ideal, cost-effective, and fun piece of branded merchandise anywhere around, really. With that combination of stone cold quality, striking decoration, cost per impression, and unmatched value, David Glenn and his team are ready to help you make a rock solid impression with your clients. Now, email them today at promo@coasterstone.com to start your next project. I promise you, you're not going to be sorry you did. Now, as I was looking at some things maybe to talk about today, a couple things popped up. The escalating trade war, at least let me check my watch, as of the moment I'm speaking, which is Wednesday, October the 15th. That seems to be escalating again, always a good time there. The end of de minimis, the 800, under 800 exemption for tariffs, that has fully expired. And what UPS is doing is they're just disposing of backlog packages. I think that's fascinating. But I want to keep it timely today and yesterday. The ASI Power 50 list came out, and I thought I'd comment a couple of things that jumped out at me. Always a fun list that ASI comes out with, showcasing a lot of the people and the movers and shakers in our industry. And so I do think it bears commenting. So comment, I will. A couple people new to the list. I always find that fascinating when people jump on the list. I love it. Joseph Sommer and Dominique Volker from Whitestone had the pleasure of hanging out with Dominique a little bit in Cabo because she was on the Promocations Cabo trip. And I've gotten to know Joseph a little bit the last few years. We've spoken at some of the same events, and we work on the Government Relations Action Council, Advisory Council for PPAI. So that's great. Sam Cates, a dear friend, love Sam to death. I've known her since she worked at commonsku many years ago, is at 44. I thought that was fantastic. Randy Carr from World Emblem at 43. Jim Hilt, who is the new CEO over at Halo, replacing the recently retired Mark Simon at number 34. I thought honestly that was a little low, to be very candid. I thought, you know, the coming into the second, third largest promotional products distributor CEO kind of would wield a little more power than 34, but I'm just one guy and I don't know how the list is made. So there's that. In Tej Shah over at Overture at number 29. Those are people who are new to the list. Some notables on the list I thought also bared mentioning. I love that we're seeing younger people on the list. So the first ones that jump out at me were Mitch and Brad Kaiser, kind of at number 47. They are some really a great generation, great next generation of leaders over at Kaiser and Blair, and they are doing some really interesting, fascinating things that really is helping that organization evolve. It's fun to watch there. Jody Schillinger from Maple Ridge Farms. I love seeing Jody on there. You know why I like seeing Jody on there? Not only is she a very influential person, she absolutely is, but she's also one of the nicest humans on the planet. She is always very thoughtful and careful with the way she speaks, and she always makes you feel like the most important person in the room. I love that. Love that. Love that. Sandy Gonzalez from Made to Order at 42. Sandy's one of the true gems of our industry, and can't think of anyone more observing except our good pal Susan Lewandowski over at Bell Promo at number 42. I'm sorry, number 30, 35, not 42, 35. I won't want to shortchange Susan on that. Having Susan as a friend, I've gotten to know her quite a bit over the last 4 years or so. And what she has done at Bell Promo is nothing short of miraculous. I know I've said that before, and so pardon me if it sounds a little redundant, but it bears repeating. What she has done at Bell Promo is truly phenomenal, and she deserves that spot on the list. Couple surprises that I thought I'd share. Vera Musillo dropped 2 spaces to number 5. Now, I know that Greg retired last summer from Proforma. I think we all thought Greg was retiring, period, but it seems like he's got some, at least according to social media, it looks like Greg has some deals working. So, not exactly sure what happened there, but I'm not sure the exit of Greg necessitated Vera losing a couple spots in the Power 50. She still is one of the, first of all, she's a female leader, which I always love when females are taking the lead like that. And she runs a very large business in Proforma and has done so for a while. Greg has been slowly stepping away for years, so I'm not sure why that happened. Norm Hollinger and Megan Spire at Bell Canvas dropping from number 9 to 38. That was a big one. That was a big one. I was surprised that type of a drop. And speaking of drops, I still want to see who dropped off. I know that's kind of shitty, but we see the new entries. I'd like to see who drops off. It doesn't make the people really any less powerful. This is an extraordinarily subjective list. So I would just be curious who fell off. It's kind of like the college football rankings. When someone drops off, they list the people who dropped off. And they also list something else I think would be interesting. Who in the room, who got votes but just didn't quite make it to that Power 50? I think that would be interesting. And last, 2 things. Number one, no Drew Holmgreen. Now, as the new president and CEO of PPAI, and he's coming up to his year anniversary here at PPAI Expo in January, so only a couple months away, to not have that person who wields so much actual power in our industry as the leader of the nonprofit association, I think that's a real miss. I think that's a huge miss. I'm sure there's some good reasoning behind that. I don't know what it is, but I'll find out and probably forget to report back to you. But I'm going to find out for my own edification. And then, we all know Tim Andrews has announced he is retiring from from ASI come this March 2026. Say it every year, but Tim wields a lot of power and influence in the industry. And I would have loved for kind of a last hurrah, put him on the list. And I know Tim has been very, very, very specific about not wanting to be on that list. Respectfully, I disagree. I think he should be on the list, just like I think Drew Holmgreen should be on the list. So if you've checked out the list, who did they miss? Who should have been on there, and who's on there that maybe shouldn't be? Love to hear it in the comments below. All right, before we get to our guest, let's pay one final bill. Many people know how to build a business, but very few understand not only when to sell that business, but the process involved to ensure that you find the right partner to maximize the return on your investment. Now, honestly, that's where you need an expert, especially one in the branded merchandise space to help you, which is where our friends over at Certified Marketing Consultants come in. Jamie Watson and her team have decades of experience facilitating private company sales in our space. That's important. Now, to help you evaluate if it's time to sell your business, reach out to Jamie and CMC over at info@certifiedmarketing.com. You're not going to be sorry you did. All right, let's bring on our guest. Hey, my first guest today needs absolutely no introduction, but I feel like wasting your time. Going to waste your time too, and maybe even a little bit of my time. She is the head of good over at Social Good Promotions, where she proves that doing good is good for business. Now, she is a business owner and promo industry leader, serving on the PPAI board as a regional relations delegate, and she's known for bringing big energy, and I can vouch for this, big energy and heart to every single thing that she does. When she's not trying to change the world, you'll find her teaching dance, watching Housewives. I assume Real Housewives of New York. I happen to think that Below Deck is much better, but that's beside the point. And balancing a full calendar of adventures. Please join me in welcoming my friend Kara Keister. Kara, thank you for joining us today on the
Oh,
podcast.
thank you for having me. First of all, this would never be a waste of my time. And literally all things Bravo. It's mind numbing. I love it. It's where I go to relax.
Yeah, I think people forget that Bravo started off as this very high tone, highbrow cable channel that would show operas and things like that. Not so much anymore.
No, no, we're doing the opposite of that now.
We are. All right, you said you had a couple things you wanted to ask me about before I grill you like a cheese sandwich with the five questions I have.
I do. So I always think it's really interesting, like how we have connected and how we have grown our relationship, you and I, over the
Yeah,
last 15 years that I've been in this industry. But many people might not know that you and I actually met through volunteering. Like we met through
we
regional
did.
volunteering. That's where we started connecting, and now we're traveling to Cabo together. It's great. So I really want to know, I love to know why people volunteer. So why volunteerism for you? How has that like really shaped the growth and trajectory of your career?
I love this question. And I'm going to talk later, or give you a little sneak peek, because we're going to talk about the regional community and why it's important. So I'm going to try not to step on that. For me, it was when I got into this industry, I had been in business for 5, 6 years doing sales here, there, and it just hadn't really found what my calling was. And then when I had an opportunity to come into this industry, it was like the proverbial Dorothy moving from Kansas in black and white to Oz in color. And it would just spoke to me immediately. And so many people helped me because when you come into this industry, there's all sorts of weird acronyms people figure you understand. You know what ASI is, you know what PPAI is, you know what ESP is, you know what all these things are. No, you don't. My default was like, oh yeah, yeah, and just kind of nod my head, even though I had no idea because I figured I'd figure it out. But it was such a new, our industry is bizarre in the fact that suppliers sell to their sales force, who then in turn sell to the end users. And it was a hard thing for me to grasp just how the entire industry worked. And I had so many people that took time to help me when I was approached after being in the industry about 6 years about serving on the PPA, I think Chicago board at the time. Now it's PPAW, I think, PPAC Chicago, whatever it is, the combined Wisconsin Buzz. Asked to serve on the board. I thought, yeah, I think it'd be a good time to give back. And honestly, it lit a fire in me that, okay, first of all, it gave me confidence that I knew what I was talking about and I could help others. Until somebody asked me if I would volunteer and serve, I didn't feel like I had any sort of knowledge base to give to anybody. That gave me the confidence to do that. And I kept thinking, I need to give back. And what I found so quickly, and I think a lot of people like us who are serial volunteers, you find that the more I give, I get so much more back in return, whether I want it or not. And I mean that in a good way. So it's become kind of an addiction. I feel like my professional life isn't complete if I'm not doing some bit of volunteering.
I love that. I love that. And I had a feeling that's what you were going to say. But I love that you mentioned serial volunteers because you and I had a really great conversation over the summer. I came to you for advice,
Hmm.
and I was hoping you would share that advice with your
Yeah.
listeners. You told me about your hell yes theory, and
Yeah.
it really has stuck with me. And I actually have made decisions based on that now. So would you
Yeah.
share that hell yes theory?
A- Absolutely. I can't take full credit for it because it's something I actually learned from a mutual friend of ours, one Kirby Hasseman. Um, and so I
The
would love to
wise
take
one.
credit for it. He is such a wise sage. He's just from down the street in Coshocton. But he and I were talking one time because I have a hard time saying no. And you were expressing this in Cabo that, sometimes it's hard to say no. And I started learning to say no when I talked to Kirby about it. And he did, I think I take it to a far more extreme than he does. He's like, man, if it's not a definite yes, it's a no. And I took that and added to it. And so for me, it's not an absolutely, I want to do that. I don't care when, sign me up, let's go. It's got to be a no. Because I have, as I told you, I think in a swim up pool bar in Cabo, I think I told you there's been so many times I've said yes in the moment because I felt like I should, and I just regretted it. I regretted it leading up to the event. I'd find a reason, can we reschedule? It just made me feel bad. And so by pulling back and giving less of myself, but giving more when it is that hell yes, I have found that I'm actually creating more of an impact with the things I do say yes to. And I'm preserving whatever little mental sanity I have remaining.
The bandwidth of it all, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
absolutely. There's
seriously,
only
I
so
really
much to
do
give.
appreciate that, and I hope that other people hear that and take that as well, because we can't, what is it, like, you can't change the world if you don't fill your own cup. Like, you have to take
Correct.
care of yourself.
And there's been times with volunteering, and as you and I are both serial volunteers. I'm on 15 different committees at any given time, and I've learned to say, "Hey, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't. I want to, but I can't." So, no, I love the questions. Love the questions. Are you ready
Yeah.
for some questions?
I
That's the real
am
one.
ready.
Full transparency.
Like,
Kara's one of my favorites because she didn't get the questions in advance. And I was talking to somebody this morning and I was saying, I always offer the questions in advance. And I think starting the beginning of the year, I'm not going to do that. If you want the questions in advance, I'm sorry, we're just not going to do the podcast because I do think it creates a little more natural flow. Maybe I won't do that. Who knows? All right, your first question. You've been in the industry for about 15 years now, and always on the distributor side. Now, for the past almost 7 years, you've been at Social Good Promotions, which is all about purpose-driven branding. Now, in fact, your mission statement really sticks out to me. It's our mission connects commerce with purpose to make the world a better place. I have a couple questions. The company was begun by our mutual friend, one Roger Burnett. What made you believe in that vision? Because when Roger did start it, in my mind, it was a very radical perspective.
it definitely, at the time, it was very different. At the time, it was very different. It's funny to talk about that now because there's so many people in this industry doing similar things and really amazing and
Absolutely.
truly, like, great things that are changing the world. And, like, I love that. It makes me so happy.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I was at a place in my career where I actually had taken a step back, and I thought that
Mhm.
I really wasn't even going to be in the industry anymore. And I saw this little engine that could, the promo cares kind of movement at the time,
Mhm.
that was really taking these little baby steps. I had the opportunity to have conversations with some really heavy hitters like Jonathan Isaacson, and I thought to myself, you know what, I, I can see this doing a thing. And it was Roger's, that honestly, it was Roger's vision. It was always his baby. It was always his vision. I just happened to be an executor, and it made me really happy to be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing our mission. It's very important to us. But if you've ever seen our vision statement is actually to use our promo superpowers for good.
I love it.
And if we're not doing that every single day, we're not doing it right. And we kind
Yeah.
of live and breathe by that for the last 7 years. And actually, it's been. In fact, I just printed it. It's on the wall. Like, be a champion today. So we all look at it every
I
day
love
as
that.
we're in and out. Yeah.
I love that. Now, we all know the four P's in marketing: product, price, place, promotion. Why is purpose the fifth P? Because, like you said, I see social good as being very much a company on the forefront of using the superpowers for good in terms of commerce. Now, a lot of people are doing it, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
Why is now purpose the fifth P in marketing?
I truly believe that purpose is the fifth P in marketing because it's what consumers want. I am an elder millennial. Uh, I have seen, I mean, people who surround me, and especially the younger generations, like, they want to know what their dollars are doing. It's not just like, I want to spend with these people. You can see there's, some of the biggest movements that we have seen, even in recent times within the last 6 months. Like, people are creating activism and doing things with their dollars that are making a true difference. And this is where consumerism is going. That train's not stopping. So they
Yeah,
want to know where their dollars are going. And that's truly why I think the purpose is the fifth P in marketing. And it's just the right thing to do. Like, you know,
I
we have
love
this
it.
beautiful planet. Let's protect it.
I love it. Now, our good mutual friend Danny Rosen is famous for refusing to sell some products to clients. Is there any product you would flat out refuse to sell to a client, regardless of how much they were going to spend with you?
Oh, Danny and I have this argument all the time in a very friendly way, of course.
Of course.
You know, he is adamant about the stress ball of it all.
Correct. He will
Now,
not sell a squeezy foam stress ball. Doesn't matter.
yeah, it's pretty yuck. I know. We have one instance where we will sell a stress ball. A client has come to us with um, a very important purpose for that, and we agree with it. So we do sell that stress ball in that instance, but it's definitely stuff that we don't do. But it's not that we won't sell things, but there are definitely times when we take pause and go back to our values and say, is this in alignment? Um, we do utilize what we call our defendable supply chain, which is a supply chain that we have vetted, that we're comfortable with in their story, in their product, in their sustainability initiatives, whatever that might be. So we are always trying to go to that list of suppliers to begin with. So we've already done that work. But there are definitely times when, like, a client wants us to run a fundraiser, or this actually happened just recently, and they said, can you cut the check for this fundraiser to this organization? And I went on and I was like, nope, I will give you a rebate that you can cut the
Right.
check to, but like, it's not in alignment with what we do. So there definitely are things that we have to say no to.
I love that because you stand for something. And I say it all the time. It's not what you sell, it's what you stand for.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, everybody's not your customer. And when you try to do that, you really limits what you can do, and you kind of lose sight of what you're trying to do and accomplish. So I love the fact that you guys stand for that. I think that's fantastic because second question, a big aspect of what you do is so good impact. You give back through donations, volunteer work, support for nonprofit partners, and a large community. A couple numbers I want to share with our audience. You've given back $2,775 of fundraising profit to your nonprofit partners through online orders. $3,695 donated as direct contributions to nonprofit partners and trusted organizations. And I think this is for me the big one. 422 hours donated investing in community programs and industry development. To me, this is huge and a very well organized initiative. How has that helped us? How has that focus helped fuel the growth of your company?
Thank you for sharing that. That's directly from our impact report, which we produce every January. And I'm super proud of that. Like, I'm really, really proud of that. And that 422 hours, I love that. There's five of us. There are
Yeah,
five of us. So
yeah,
it's a lot of time. Like, we are definitely out there and in the trenches. Um, but shaping the growth of our company, again, that's a guiding light for us. So we produce that every year and utilize that not only in our own marketing, but we utilize that as a target. So as we are winding down here over the next 3 months, it's a constant conversation. Is what does that defendable spend look like for us this year? I think we were at 83%, something like that last year. We know that there's not a whole lot of growth that can be made from that, but like,
hmm,
that is a target for us. Have you
yeah,
gotten your volunteer hours in? Is there something you want to volunteer at that is like your actual job is getting in the way of, or is there a way that we can get you more involved? Um, those are conversations that guide us every year. Um, and in fact, we're having those. I shared with you, we're just in the middle of assessment season right now.
yeah,
So we're
yeah.
preparing for 2026. And those are all things that we are talking about individually with: where do you want to get involved? What would you like to do? What do you want to see us do more of? Should we be giving more dollars to community sports? Should we be giving more dollars to, um, you know, the cancer research, or whatever that is? Like, those are all
Right.
conversations that we have as part of our planning.
I love that. And, of the three numbers, and the dollar figures are great. And I don't want to belittle that in any way, but to me, like I said, that important one is the 422 hours, because that's taking people out of their actual
Hmm.
job functions they're being paid for and redeploying that time to give back. And to me, that's so counterintuitive to the way most companies run. Yeah, we want you to volunteer, but we'll pick an afternoon on a Friday when it's dead, or we'll do it over the weekend or something like that. You actively do it during the workday, you schedule that. And I just think that's so critically important. I just love it. Absolutely love it.
Thank you. It's not easy for a small business. It's
No,
definitely not easy,
it's
but
hard. It's
it's
very hard.
important. It's
Yeah.
important to me. It's important to us collectively, and I love like they're getting so much. My employees are getting so much out of this. I have employees they're coaching. I have employees that
Hmm.
are, building houses. They're out doing Habitat for Humanity. They're doing these things. We're participating in community events that are not only beneficial, that again, everything I give gives back to us. Like, yeah, it's really fun to go out and do those events, but they're also meeting people and participating in the community. And now we have new prospects in the pipeline. And, so it really is, it's mutually beneficial.
And to me, when I see the numbers like that, for lack of a better term, it's easy to say, okay, X percent of these sales are going to go, and I can write a check. That's not difficult to do. It might be difficult to part with the money, but it's not a big calorie burn. It is so much more difficult to do what you're doing and juggling all the things that are that. So again, kudos to you. Now, you and I fervently believe in the power of the regional community. We kind of touched on that at the top. You're the regional relations delegate for the board. But back to the larger regional community, just like any network of associations, and that's really what the regional community is, a network of nonprofit associations. Some thrive while others they struggle. Two questions. What separates the thriving associations from the ones that do struggle? Deep
Wow,
question
that's a
here on the
really
Between Two
great
Brands
question. Oh
podcast.
man. So there's a couple of things that I would like to touch on here. I think those
Okay.
associations that are quote thriving, um, there's a few things in play. One, a lot of them are just larger regions, and that's more concentrated. That's
Sure.
that's thing number one. You have more members, or you have access to more members within your own space. I think that they are innovative. I think those that are, stepping outside of the box, thinking forward. Um, Honestly, even though we are all associations and very member driven, you still have to have a revenue mindset to be those that consider, quote, thriving. Our smaller associations are very different. They're serving a different market. Um, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think you have to meet your members where they are. And if that means that you aren't one of the, big three or whatever, like, so be it, as long as your members are satisfied and happy and you're committed to a benefits package that is mutually beneficial. I think that, there's nothing wrong with that. What I would love to say is there are 25 regionals who have collectively decided to become members of PPAI Association.
Mhm.
That was a really big, heavy lift.
Very.
And I am extremely proud of the work that the Regional Relations Committee, alongside of the staff at PPAI, have done to create a benefits package that is actually serving those members alongside their members. So it's a really positive experience right now. There is a really good vibe happening. There's collaboration. We're all working towards the same goal of networking and providing trade shows and education. 2 weeks from actually today, we will be in Dallas at the Leadership Development Conference, which I've the education sessions are out of this world. I can't wait. The knowledge that they are going to take back and be able to strategically plan for the future, I think, is going to be above and beyond. So yeah, I think yeah, there definitely are some that there are peaks and valleys as with anything,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
working together towards a common goal, I see as kind of the forward movement and kind of the future of our regional associations.
I agree with you 100%. And I had the honor of being at speaking at LDC, Leadership Development Conference last year, and it was a great event. It's, transformed from what was the Leadership Development Workshop, and I think it's much more targeted, much more focused now, which I think is a huge benefit that PPAI is doing. So I love that. Now, I mentioned earlier, you are the Regional Relations Committee delegate to the PPAI board. What have you learned most from your time on the board, and why is it avoid Danny Rosen?
So, in all fairness, Danny and I have not sat on the board that long together. So
I know.
that's, but I do love being in the room with him. Um,
Who
what
doesn't, by the
I
way? I'm joking, Danny, and I know you listen.
We love you, Danny.
Weirdly, let's make it weird. Danny listens to this podcast. Do you know where he listens to this podcast?
Uh, I don't even want to know.
He tells me every week. I was taking a shower this morning listening to the podcast. I'm like, man, I don't need to know that. You told me once, I got it. He tells me every
I
time he
am
listens. But anyway,
not even bothered by that. That
no.
tracks. That tracks.
Danny is just one of the most creative and most thoughtful and giving humans on the in the planets. But so joking there. But what have you learned most from your time on the board?
I have learned twofold. One, I have learned so much about the process and importance of an association, especially a nonprofit association, in terms of what it means for the members. Being able to be a voice in that room is incredible. I am a small business. I am a women-owned business. I am, I've been here for a while, but this is all fairly new to me still. In terms of like business ownership and what it is important for the bulk of our members. So I think that's thing number one, just the importance of what a nonprofit regional association can do for especially small businesses. I think that has been huge. On the flip side of that, personally, I have learned how important it is to have a voice and have an opinion. And I have learned that every member, big, small, however that person looks, whatever that organization looks like, matters. And I have respected so much those people around the table, staff and other volunteers that have sat around that table and allowed me to have that voice. And that has been probably the most incredible thing that has come out of this experience for me.
I love that. I remember the first time I went into a boardroom at the regional level, and then, also I was president of the RAC board, which doesn't exist anymore. It's now the Regional Relations Committee, but all that. I don't think people realize who don't volunteer that way, how challenging it is to understand how to be on a board, how to voice an opinion, how to listen. But, so many times people go in and they just kind of turtle up and they don't participate. And that's like the opposite of what you need to do. It's all done respectfully, but you have to speak the voice of the people you represent. One of the things I actually learned this partially from Danny was, we can have knockdown dragouts in the boardroom, but when we walk out of here, it's a unified, this is what the direction we're heading. That was something I learned not as early as I wish. Not as early as I wish.
I have been extremely blessed with incredible mentors and champions, not only in the boardroom, but outside of the boardroom. And I'm very thankful for it.
We're glad you're on the board, because I love the fact that you run small businesses. Sometimes I feel like the board is a little stacked way too much. You do not need to respond to this. This is the bilatorial section. I do feel like the board is way too stacked with multi-million-dollar company representation, but it is what it is. Let's talk about something more fun. Last question, and frankly, super self-serving promotions. Now, you attended with your fabulous husband our first land-based event in Cabo just a few months ago. I want to know what your perception was before you went into the event, and how the time you spent there either change or validate that perception.
Oh my. I don't know that I thought too much about it going into it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I
Um,
tried to get you on a cruise. You're
I
like,
know.
oh, you were so polite. No, no, I just
I
and then only to find out
just am
later,
not
yeah, I'm
going
not
on a
going on a
boat. I'm just
cruise.
not
I'm
going
not
to do
going on some
it.
boat.
Just so not going on that boat. Um, yeah, cruises just aren't for me. And when this
Fair.
opportunity came, I jumped at it because I had quite a few, colleagues, friends that have been on this event with you, and they speak volumes of it. I love this format. The EME style promo power meeting, that 18-minute kind of speed dating. I have always loved that. So I was all in. I really didn't know what to expect from the agenda, I guess. Like, it was a little hard for me to think like, oh, I have to go work for 5 hours and then I just go hang out at the pool. Like, that was hard for me to wrap my head around because that's not my experience on work trips.
Right. Right.
Um, what I will tell you is that even my husband was a little hesitant because he was like, I don't know. Like, what are you going to be doing all day? Where are you going to be?
Right.
I mean, I know that you and Alex are now best friends, so that's very
Oh,
important, but
absolutely. Hey, we located your purse you basically left in the Pacific Ocean.
very important, very important. Um, but what I will say is we both had just an incredible experience, and it wasn't particularly work heavy or it wasn't particularly social heavy. It was the perfect mix of both. It was so laid back, but also really productive. Like, it felt right. And not only, like, we joked, I know you joked about the swim up pool. By the way, that conversation happened at the hibachi grill.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
important conversations happened at the swim up bar. Like,
They
I
do.
remember just really poignant conversations with Susan Lewandowski and like, where are we going to
Mhm.
take how are we going to, we had all these conversations about how are we going to encourage young people to get in this industry? What are we going to do to shape the regionals differently? What does the governance of the PPAI board look like moving forward? Like, those conversations happen in a very informal setting, but have really helped me help our members more,
That's
which
great.
which I'm super thankful for.
Yeah, we found that, people who have never been, or it's like, gosh, it's like, are we working? And I think sometimes business principals, owner, don't see the value in it because they haven't been on it. When you go on it, though, you really see,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm with my a family member or spouse, whatever it is. But man, we talk a lot of shop and we get a lot of dedicated. I'm not focusing on my phone. I'm not focusing on orders. I'm really focused on the conversation. And so they really bloom and blossom and develop over those 4 or 5 days. So glad you made it on there. And Alex is my best friend now. And I will tell you, so we had two Alexes in Cabo.
Yeah.
We are going on a cruise in like 2.5 weeks. And we have four people named Alex, one of them female. I'm like, okay, this is really becoming an issue.
Well, Tennessee Alex definitely stuck because that's the only way that I refer to Tennessee Alex now. So
Yeah, and he probably, Kara, thank you. I like being called Tennessee Alex. Alex, by the way, Alex's wish is that he gets a shout out on every podcast. This is now two in a row because Danny Henderson did a shout out to him last week. So wow, he's going to be very happy when he listens to this. But you know what makes me happy? I'm going to do a quick closing sponsor reading and thank you for being on the podcast. Hey, this episode of Between Two Brands has been brought to you by the good people over at Coaster Stone, home of the original absorbent stone coaster, with that combination of stone cold quality, striking decoration, low cost per impression, retail packaging, and unmatched value. David Glenn and his team at Coaster Stone are ready to help you make a rock solid impression with your clients. Email them at promo@coasterstone.com. Kara Keister, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day to be on this podcast. Always lovely to see you, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
you got it. Anything for you.
You say that, but you don't mean it.